Welcome to Go Home Heat, a wrestling podcast. I have Justin here via the technology the world has now got. He is called in, and we're going to talk.
Woo-hoo.
This is a NXT podcast. Let's talk about it. I loved the episode. I think you did too, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it started out hot, kept it going.
All right. We started out, we had a battle royal for who would wrestle Io Shirai at TakeOver. I believe that is on October 4th. And Kansas winds up beating up on Tegan, injured before they even get started. So Tegan Knox is not really a part of what's going on. We wind up with Zia Lee, Candice Ray, Dakota Kai, Gonzalez, Shotzi, Carter, Alea, Kat.
Everybody,
Maria,
every
ton-
female on the roster,
Right.
I'm pretty sure,
Right.
was out there.
Even some that were just one of the girls from Shayna Baszler's crew was there,
Yeah.
which hopefully that means she'll start getting into the mix a little bit.
I would hope so.
Ripley gets in trouble kind of early, and Gonzalez pulls somebody off of her and screams, "She's mine." One of the plot lines during this thing was Ripley and Gonzalez are going to wind up they are currently on a collision course, and it's going to get worse. They actually knock each other out of the competition.
Yeah, which was good.
Absolutely. Kat winds up doing her American Ninja Warrior stuff, gets eliminated fairly late after all that stuff. She does do a little tag team thing to help her get into the ring by her out of the competition teammate.
That was like some Kofi Kingston, John Morrison stuff right there. That was good.
Or Naomi, you know?
Yeah.
And I was funny because I was thinking, I don't know that she'll ever be more than a mid-carder, but I do know that from now on she'll be in every single battle royal on every show.
Yes.
You know? Which is great because, and then she'll have to come up with new ways to climb the pole, all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah. And she can do it.
Oh, absolutely. She's a freak of nature. Shotzi winds up being the second to last person out as Candice kicks her out. I thought the finish was great.
Oh, it was well set up.
Yeah, Candice being on the steps and looking like she's going to go out, and then what would you call the way she kicked Shotzi off?
Kind of a bicycle kick from like a short bicycle kick or something. It was nice. She blasted her.
And it worked great. And so now you have Candice LeRae, who is winding up in a program now with Io Shirai, which I think is great because we don't have to have a long program to explain why these two. Io straight up told you in the next promo that she never liked her to begin with.
Well, and they had that whole thing, but when Io first went heel, the first one she took out was Candice LeRae. So you've already got a backstory on them.
Well, and we've been telling the story of Candice LeRae going heel separate of all this for months now. So there's no reason to have to wonder who we're rooting for and all that. Shotzi going out last, I was impressed with because I feel like that tells me that Shotzi, they're invested in her.
I think so. I think they demonstrate a lot of like confidence in her, and like that we want to make sure she's in the camera by her, with only one other person for a while.
Yeah, and I like Candice. Let me go back. I like Shotzi and I like Tegan being your baby faces underneath the title.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's strong, and I think you can build them. I really think this division is strong. It's amazing. They just lost Yim and Mercedes probably to the main roster, and it doesn't even phase them.
No.
To have. They're just so good at developing talent and developing this women's division.
And recruiting really well and bringing in good people that are going to be ready when you need them to be ready.
Right. I wish Zia Lee would do whatever she's going to do because I feel like she's talented. And I think she was hurt by being in the ring with people who weren't quite ready to be her foe.
Yeah. You put her in there with Candice LeRae. You put her in there with somebody like that. She can really put on a great show, I think.
Right, or maybe you put her into something with Tegan, and let because it looked like she may be going heel. So maybe you put her in. Maybe you put her into something with Tegan and let her kind of learn a little better and look good for a little bit. and then move her on into maybe the Shotzi thing, depending on how that plays out. Okay, now we wind up with Johnny Takeover and Damian Priest kind of jawing back and forth at each other backstage. I'm excited for that matchup.
I think that's big time.
Now, again, you're taking a guy that everybody likes and thinks has got all the potential in the world in Damian, and you're sticking him in there with one of the best. And you're allowing that to play out probably over 15 minutes, 20 minutes, which is, I'm excited. Now, then we go to our man, Sherlock Holmes Fandango, who has devised a plan, and William Regal approaches, and he says, what we're going to do here is basically we're going to have...
My favorite part was that William Regal shut down his British accent immediately. His silly British accent.
Exactly. The rest of it, by golly, is fine, but no faking the accent. Okay, so what he does is he takes the top 4 contending tag teams, your Legado, your Imperium, their top 3 tag teams. Undisputed Era and Birch and Larkin, right? Birch and Lorcan.
Mm-hmm.
And he pairs them up where Strong and Birch will be on one team and Mendoza and Eichner will be on another, and the winners will then, it's almost a tournament, but a strange way to do it, because the winners of the...
Very cool.
How great was that concept? You allowed...
Fandango came up with that. I'm impressed, but I doubt it. But.
Correct. Now, we'll get to the match in just a second, but I thought the concept... it took me aback at first until I got to watch the match, and then I was like, oh, wow, this is how it plays out, right? We wound up with the Evil Anteater Ciampa, which I'm guessing that's what his mask is at this point. I'm not 100% sure. He attacks Atlas, and then they have a good little matchup. Atlas is wrestling pretty good. They're also showing Atlas on 205 Live if you want to see him have chances to win matches.
Yes, he's going to win this one.
Right, and it was a tour de force performance by Ciampa, and he's getting into his groove here. The guy makes a mistake. Ciampa puts him away. He could have finished it, and he didn't. I think he says something like, "You want to eat at the champ's table," and then he hits him with the fairy tale ending. 1, 2, 3. Ciampa wins. Again, I don't know where we go with Ciampa and Johnny, because I'm not 100% sure you want to put belts on them, because they don't really need belts. But I feel like any program you put them in is going to be great.
Yeah.
There's
I can't disagree on that. I think, and as much as I want to see them wrestle some of the guys on the main roster, it's like I don't want them to go up, because I think I have no confidence that they're going to be used in any way correctly.
I don't know that Vince and them will know. It took Daniel Bryan a huge upswell of 20,000 people a night chanting yes for months on end, and they still tried to put the bullet in him time and time again, and it didn't work for him to get to the point.
People just hated him for it.
Kofi, same thing, and even though Kofi's not a small man, it just So I feel you on that. And 2, I don't want them in matches. We were talking about this the other day. I just don't want them in matches where they're only wrestling 7 minutes on Monday. Monday night they have 3 hours, and every match is too short.
Yeah.
It
doesn't end in an ending.
There's only 2 people that get to stretch anything out, and it's Randy and Seth. Everybody else is, go out there for 4 minutes and come on back. And most
of the time, what they get to stretch out is a long ass monologue.
Correct. If they're in a match, like you had Seth and Murphy and them all in a match, and the matchup was good, but the story we wound up telling was, 4.5, 5, 6 minutes, and Seth walking off and leaving Buddy hanging out to dry.
Yeah.
So you didn't even really, because you put Andrade in a match we've seen 100 times at the pay-per-view. Really, that whole match was to set up a talking segment of 22 seconds where Murphy apologizes to Mysterio's kid.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily
recognizing that.
I don't necessarily have a problem with Buddy doing that, but I didn't need a match to do that.
No, I didn't either.
Buddy could.
I'm so Raw is just, and we're not on that, but Raw is just I don't know how you have that much talent 3 hours and you can only get 4 or 5 people on TV
that are good.
They're good. You can let them wrestle.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, though, because I want to see Ciampa wrestle for 10 minutes. I want to see Johnny wrestle for 12 minutes. I want to see all these different combinations I can get. So I like that he's here, and I want him to stay here. Okay, so we wind up moving from there to a Ridge Holland promo. Now, somewhere, and I like the way they're putting Ridge over, and I don't know that you even have to put him over, because when he walks up, he's over. I mean, he's a refrigerator, you know?
Dude, yeah, he's a square.
Yeah. But they do have a thing I want to talk about where they have I don't remember exactly when the commercial was, but they have a green screen covering some ex-NXT champion, I would guess, because it looked like in championship casings was 2 title belts.
Yes.
And whoever that person was,
who you thought that was too.
Man, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I had no clue, and the first thing I read was Bo Dallas online. And I was like, wow, if Bo Dallas could recreate himself into I'm not really, dude, his brother's The Fiend.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? He could totally be like, yeah, I walked in here and you guys made me be nice to people and I was being sweet and all that, whatever. He could go EY on everybody. Eric Young, if you pay attention to Impact.
Yeah.
He could totally do that sanity type of thing that they had in this company that worked pretty good till it went to the main roster, or what EY's doing right now in Impact.
Video gaming package they did, like he was a video game character.
Absolutely. And I thought myself maybe Robert Roode, but then I thought that totally nothing about that fits Robert Roode.
No, nothing about it does.
I mean, I would love to see Robert Roode come into here because he's the kind of worker. He's the kind of worker that makes everybody around him look good. He's somewhere between Hunter and Arn Anderson in the ring. You know what I mean? And so
I like that. Yeah.
He doesn't really need a belt, but he can get into a feud with everybody on your roster and win and lose and win and lose, and he's always going to have heat and he's perfect, you know. But I just don't think that vignette fits him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we wind up with Roddy Strong, Danny Burch, Mendoza, and Eichner. This was great, I thought. It was really good. What I liked about it, and I didn't get it till I saw it in action, was that you had, because they weren't real teammates, it was a lot of almost single style wrestling, and then the combo move was what wound up winning it.
Mm-hmm.
Because finally they get, one team gets on the same page right there, and one team is unable to do that.
Exactly. In this one, there's some stakes behind the whole, let me team up the guys who are enemies together.
Right.
It's not like they do that all the time and there's no stakes involved. So it's easy for guys to walk out, or you can't shaft the other guy, because if you shaft the other guy, you're shafting yourself. So
exactly. And also, you got to see Danny, like Mendoza and Eichner and Burch, who don't get a lot of singles wrestling, got to show you things other than the combo shticks that we have to watch every time they wrestle as a tag team, right? So those patented combo moves, which are enjoyable, you didn't have right here. You had a completely different match than you would have had if it had been booked any other way. I thought it was really clever way to let these guys show who they are as wrestlers and performers.
Fandango's a genius. Let's just call it like it is.
Fandango is a genius. Next level. Okay, we have the North American title, Damian Priest versus Austin Theory. Again, I thought this match was well done. Theory looked good. Priest pulls it out in a fairly dominating finish with the Razor's Edge into the.
Well, first thing he hit was the tornado kick or cyclone kick, whatever you want to call it,
which was great.
Which was vicious looking.
Yeah. Then he hit the. Who hit the toss Falcon Arrow? Was that Austin?
That was Austin, dude. That was Austin.
He's pretty doggone strong.
Dude, Austin Theory is amazing. I just think they pushed him a little too fast and got him up there where he didn't need to be yet, And I don't know what got him his little disappearing act there for a while. I still haven't heard anybody say with any specificity what happened. But
then he did a Blue Thunder Bomb as well in the middle of that. It was a good matchup, like you said. But then we get the Razor's Edge into the slightly better than Cody finish.
Oh, slightly.
The Reckoning, I believe, is what they call that. And I thought it was well done. And then Gargano drops him after it was over. One thing though, when I saw him do the Razor's Edge, one thing I thought about was how freaking strong Scott Hall must have been.
Oh, dude.
Because, Theory's a big guy, but he ain't big. And,
No.
And he was struggling a little bit to hold him steady. And, he also had to worry about the fact that he was throwing him on the apron, which if he does that wrong, breaks the guy's neck. But still, Scott Hall would pick dudes up and throw them like that, and there was nothing to it.
Scott Hall, it's almost like he couldn't feel any pain.
And there was a severe lack of concern about whoever he was throwing, so he didn't have to struggle with what happened with them when they landed.
Yeah.
He took care of Sean, and that's it. When he
That's it. Done.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it to Kevin because Kevin was too tall.
Kevin was not taking that bump. No, sir. No, sir. Kevin dropped the Big Show on his head and never allowed him to do the same likewise. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Kevin was like, no. I have this thing called creative control over my character.
Yeah.
And what I'm controlling is how many times my head and back hit this mat.
Yeah. Have you seen my knee surgery record? I don't need a back surgery record.
The last banger match I was in was called the Finger Poke of Doom.
Yes.
Okay, Monster Ridge Holland has a real live squash match with Deluxe, and I thought this was good because you don't get a lot of real squash matches in this company, right? Usually even the squash matches have back and forth. This was legit. We're showcasing this guy as a monster.
Putting him over. Again, I go back to my only problem with Ridge Holland.
The hat?
No knee pads.
Oh, I don't know why he needs a billy club either.
Wearing the jacket and the hat and the tiny underwear shorts, he looks like he's going to get on the registry. That's what I'm saying to you. He's going to invite some kids into a car.
The problem with not wearing knee pads or elbow pads or wrist pads or whatever or wrap or even high boots is you look like you're in your underwear.
That's what I'm saying.
Cody didn't ever wear. Remember, Cody wouldn't wear pads for a while on his knees.
I had the same problem with him.
It's like, bro, put some pants on.
That was my one thing. It's still my biggest thing in wrestling. There's only a few guys who can do that.
Allow me to think of you as an athlete and not as my dad walking to the fridge.
Thank you.
Okay.
Conjured up too many horrible childhood memories for me.
Right. EO interview. EO never liked Candice. We already talked about that, and she didn't. And this was a good thing too, though, because Damian winds up walking up to get revenge on Gargano, and so now we wind up having, and this is the cool thing about having a married couple involved in a program, is now Damian Priest gets to get the rub from popular wrestler Io Shirai in some form of a tag match next week. And I like that. You can have Candice and Gargano go through and start things with different people, and you can mix and match who they wind up wrestling against.
Yes.
And I hadn't thought about it until I saw Io and Damian side by side pushing and shoving, and I thought, oh wow,
and they even work together. Their aesthetic looks, they're
sure they're pretty.
Yeah.
Well, one of them looks like Vin Diesel with hair, but
yeah, tall. And here's something you can't unnotice once you see it one good time. Very knock-kneed.
He is knock-kneed, and that may be why I think he has trouble with the Razor's Edge. He may not even have trouble with it. It just looks like it because he's knock-kneed. But degree of difficulty matters.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, O'Reilly versus Kushida starts out this gauntlet match, and it is a unique gauntlet match in that it's not you eliminate somebody and they leave. Somebody comes in every few minutes. And and this was great. Kushida versus O'Reilly, we really get to see what great wrestlers these two guys are.
Well, what great hybrid MMA guys these guys really are. The next, what I still think is the natural evolution of pro wrestling is what they did for the first 4 minutes of that match.
Yes. What Thatcher and Riddle do when they wrestle each other.
Yes.
Right. But these guys are a little smaller, which allows them to be a little quicker. But then we wind up with Bronson Reed totally changing the dynamic when he comes out and he does dude, he's a freak, dude. All these wrestlers that are in this match are so good. Now, he does the big boy stuff and Kushida winds up getting eliminated. Then Cameron.
Dream. Wait.
Oh.
You gotta remember, Dream came in and hit Kushida.
Dream hit the Dream Valley Driver when the ref wasn't looking. Right. And then rolls out of the ring.
Which protects Kushida because they got him on a little bit of a push right now, which I love. You know.
Yeah,
and
right.
Kushida versus Dream is like, that's going to be spectacular.
It is. It is going to be a really good matchup. And then you wind up with, and it's so far away from the title, which allows for your show. You know what I mean? Like your show's going to be. Mm-hmm. That's the beautiful thing when you can have these matchups with these guys that aren't involved in the title. That's what makes pro wrestling great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so then we wind up with Cameron Grimes, who's your guy.
Love him.
And Timothy Thatcher come out. And again, we get to see O'Reilly showcase himself wrestling against these many different styles of wrestler. And Cameron Thatcher is kind of, to me, Thatcher was kind of the glue that rotated between the competitors. Yeah. Whenever one of them kind of got an advantage, he'd slide in and grab a limb, and it'd turn into a wrestling match for a second, and then it'd go somewhere else, and then we'd wind up right back there with him. Now, eventually, they get eliminated to where it's just Grimes and O'Reilly, and we have a whole nother match in which Grimes dominates. Remember, O'Reilly's been in here since the beginning.
Yeah.
And Grimes dominates a lot of that, and he even yells at him.
He hits the cave-in at the very beginning of it after O'Reilly eliminates Thatcher.
Correct.
He hits the cave-in.
Exactly.
So he's got the
upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then he even yells at him, you were never Grimes yells at him, you were never the star. You've always, Cole was the star. Yeah. And so then
his money, dude. His facial expressions, everything he does in the ring is so good for helping advance a storyline and tell stories. I think that guy is phenomenal. And
when O'Reilly eventually goes over, making Grimes tap out,
a sickly done heel hook. That is nasty looking. It was perfectly executed.
So good.
He's so good, dude.
But you took a guy who I don't remember the last time I saw him in a singles match. And you put him in there right out the shoot. Yeah, and you put him in there right out the shoot, and you let him showcase what he can do in the various styles against the various people. You literally took 15 to 20 minutes and legitimized the guy because he's already legitimate in the aspect of they did the same thing with Jey Uso, but even better here because the wrestler. Nothing against Sheamus and Corbin, but this was more. I just feel like this was better. It just was, But you showcased. Okay, he's a multiple-time champ, so of course he's legit. But we've legitimized him as a singles competitor because we've shown him wrestling multiple guys right here in 20 minutes, and you see how it works with his skill set against different styles of people. And so then when he does go over, you remind everybody right before he goes over that he's always been held down by his own choice of being in a faction and letting Cole shine.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes over, and then they come out, and they're happy. And Cole even goes out there on Twitter the other day, and hey, I'm sure it's part shtick of where the show's going, but also, I've always known he was the best in the world. And so, and dude, I'll be honest with you, there's no reason. I don't believe he goes over against Finn this weekend or next weekend as the number one contender, which is what he just won. I don't believe he goes over, but I totally believe he gets to go on and stay singles, and we get Fish and Strong.
Yeah.
And I see Cole leaving, at some point, and I don't know if that means he goes to the other rosters or if he just, you can just see him changing into a I'm not going to cheat guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I can see that.
You know.
Well, and he's got the skill set to make that. Dude, there's not many people on the roster you can't make it look like like Kyle O'Reilly can beat because of his skill set.
Right.
You know.
Right, because all he needs is an ankle or an arm, and he can win. That's all he needs. Like Thatcher.
Do you think they're going to do? Oh man, I doubt they would do this because they're not cool. But I wish they would have Cole, Finn, and AJ team up. You know, just for a little while, even.
Hey, what about this? I just thought of this when I was fantasy booking. What if you put Cole into a program with Finn, right? After this O'Reilly thing, and you kind of rematch whatever you want to say. You took advantage of my buddy when he was down, and then the faction flips on Cole.
Oh yeah,
and Finn's the leader of Undisputed Era all of a sudden.
That could be cool too.
You know what I mean? And then you could let O'Reilly go after the. I just thought about that 2 seconds ago. It'd be dope. You know what I mean? Because Cole kind of replaces Finn along with other people in Bullet Club, and it'd kind of be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're telling that story a little bit from reverse.
Sure, why not? Now, you enjoyed the show.
Oh, definitely.
I felt like we got so much done.
Oh yeah, in 2 hours.
2 hours, and we saw. You know what we saw? Wrestling.
That's crazy.
They had these things. You don't see them a lot on Mondays and Fridays. They had these things called finishes.
Yes. On Friday you see them more. On Monday nights they are a rare commodity, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, you want to do a quick little fantasy book of the pay-per-view tonight?
Yeah, we'll run through it real quick.
First of all, what did you think of the end? Because I did a pod yesterday, but you weren't available. What did you think of the end where Roman and Jay of SmackDown?
That was magnificent. That was probably some of Roman's best work, promo-wise. And, Jay's definitely his best work ever. It was that they put a mic in his hand and let him do something. He sold me on that this dude, could get out there and tell stories as a singles competitor. I think they're gonna to do it. He would have to turn on his brother or something like that. They can do some cool stuff with that though.
What about now? What about the concept of him losing and then him going heel with his brother and then becoming the bloodline like they have always talked about and them running roughshod over everything?
Oh, I could see that too. That could be great. You could have them be like, all right, Roman is in charge. And now Roman kind of turns them towards, like, there's no reason you guys shouldn't have the tag team belts. There's no reason you guys should be you should be contributing to the family too. And here's how we'll do it.
Right. Bring back Jimmy and have him tell Jay over and over, dude, Roman's right. This is our freaking company, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and Jay said the coolest thing on the TV show they had for him. They had the documentary Chronicles on him on WWE Network. Watch it if you can. It's a ton of Pensacola footage, Myrtle Grove football, Escambia High School football, Pensacola stuff if you're from somewhere else. So you'll enjoy it anyway because you know all these places. And during it, Jay says, if you Google Samoan wrestler on the WWE Network, whoever pops up, that's us. Whoever pops up, that's my family. Whether it's High Priest Peter Maivia, whether it's Rosie, whether it's Rikishi, whether it's Umaga, whether it's Roman, whether it's The Rock, that's all my family.
Well, Samoan.
Right. Obviously Alpha and Sika, right? Obviously. Yeah. So it's it was just so good to think of the lineage which Paul Heyman harps on every week and how they're making Roman into this Samoan godfather, and even how Jay also mentions in there when he's talking to Michael Cole, Michael Cole's like, wait, how much older is your brother? And he goes, oh, he's 9 minutes older. And he's like, and it's still like, he said, yeah, he's older. In our culture, he's older. That's all that matters. He said, 9 minutes at 9 years, he's in charge. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of crazy. but it's cool.
Fantasy book. Let me crazy fantasy book. You keep Jay, you keep the Usos as baby faces, and they're fighting Roman for a while. Then Roman brings in the WWE drops a lot of money, and Roman brings in the Gorillas of Destiny to back him up.
Dude, that's the greatest thing ever. I mean, the Gorillas of Destiny make so much money outside of wrestling with Bullet Club, and they get to do their own parties where people pay to be in attendance and all that stuff. I can't imagine them ever changing what they're doing, but the greatest pay-per-view ever would be a Gorillas of Destiny invasion where they headline against, and you probably could go get, I'm trying to think, what's the guy? Man. Yes. Yeah. And then you have them headline the greatest ever, of course, would be you bring in Rocky Maivia for WrestleMania and Gorillas of Destiny, yes. And you have Gorillas of Destiny in the co-main event against the Usos, right? And then you finish it up with The Rock and Roman, right?
Yes.
And it just, who's the head of the table?
We've just made them millions of dollars, Kevin.
Well, actually, we just cost them millions of dollars. Can you imagine how much it cost to get the Gorillas of Destiny and The Rock to wrestle at an event?
Yeah, but you'd make that money back.
You ain't lying. Okay, here we go. We'll start with Lashley Apollo. What do you think?
Lashley.
I agree.
Hurt Business is one of the best factions in wrestling right now.
Absolutely. Cesaro and the Lucha House Party.
Versus, I think Cesaro and Shinsuke. I think the Lucha House Party come apart and Kalisto costs them the belt.
They implode.
Yeah.
I agree there. So Street Profits and Garza and Andrade.
God, I want Garza and Andrade to win this so bad because I just think you need to do something different on Raw, but I don't see it happening.
Well,
they look way better.
Here's the thing, though. Both these programs are the same. The challenging party is about to implode. So if you have them both implode and both lose, somebody's got to win, right?
Somebody, you would think.
And I can't see.
If I had to pick one to win, I would say Garza and Andrade.
Right. I just can't see Shinsuke and Cesaro losing right now, unless they have a plan to put them somewhere else. Which I don't see that because the Intercontinental Championship, I don't see the losers of that being out of the picture anytime soon. I feel like whoever wins, we'll go to that. The Intercontinental Championship is Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, and Sami Zayn. I feel like Zayn wins.
I'm just about to say I think that would be my pick. I think Zayn wins, and then Jeff chases him.
Right, and that allows for AJ to take on Jeff after Jeff winds up catching and beating Sami.
Yes. Right,
but that also ties up that title and keeps the need for Shinsuke and Cesaro to be where they are for a little while because there's nowhere for them to go right now. You know. Now we got the women's tag team. I can't see Liv and Ruby beating Shayna. Huh?
I don't think Riot Squad's winning this unless they have them implode. And that's the third tag team that might implode tonight.
Mm-hmm. But they're the champs, and if they implode, that means somebody gets Asuka soon.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so then going to Asuka versus Zelina. Asuka wins. I think that'll be way better than people realize.
I think so, because I don't think a lot of people know how good Zelina Vega is.
They're about to find out. And I think this is the end of her being a manager if she has a great performance.
I heard Vincent Mann's real high on her.
He should be. She's already one of the best talkers in the women's division. And why not have somebody that can talk in your division? Mm-hmm. and also is a luchador basically.
Yeah.
You know, and just the look, the everything. You know, she's a star, man. I think just put the spotlight on her and let her do her thing. Okay, Bayley and Nikki.
I think Bayley's. I just don't see Nikki winning this because they got to have Sasha versus Bayley for the belt, don't they?
They do, and I think you have to have Alexa and Nikki in a program too. And I think this is where you get your shenanigans because I think Alexa comes out as whatever her outfit she's going to wear as the Fiend sidekick, and she comes out and does whatever it is, whether it be some type of Fiend or some kind of Fiend worshiper. I think she comes out and costs her the match. I think Sasha.
I'm going to go with she comes out with Nikki in regular character, and then something happens during the match to kind of like brainwash, flip her switch, like Jason Bourne.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden she takes out Nikki.
If you really want to bag all your shenanigans into one match, you have Sasha come out and almost cost her the match. Almost cost Bayley the match. Yeah. And then turn right around and have Alexa, when the ref's looking at that mess, have Alexa cost Nikki the match.
That's a WWE level of busy, but yeah, I can see that.
Well, and two, in contrast, it makes total sense, and it drives you into two programs. And if you'll give me clean finishes on the other stuff, I won't mind that.
I could put up with a one or two.
Right, Orton and Drew.
Man, I really find it hard to believe that they're going to take it off Drew, but I think they might put it on Orton.
I think they will too. I think Drew gets it back, but I think the only way this continues is if Orton wins, and I feel like they don't know where to go from here without Orton. You know, I think they need to figure it out, and I feel like, you know, having Drew chase Orton one time, I just don't know now. The final match, of course, Jay and Roman, which will probably be the co-main event. The other one will probably go on last. What do you think about Jay and Roman?
You know, man, I think Jay's going to put up a great fight, and then Roman's going to just annihilate him at some point.
Okay, now here's the real question. I think, what do you think are great matches? Because I think this is a fairly predictable pay-per-view. I almost kind of made up Sammy winning just so I could get something different that I didn't expect, because I expect Hardy to win, kind of.
Yeah, I really do too, but I want Sammy to win because I think the great matches will be the gimmick match because you got three guys in there who are just top. Well, you got two in Jeff, but Jeff can do a lot if you don't have to make him do it all.
Jeff's a really good wrestler.
Asuka and Zelina, I think, will be world class.
Right. Asuka, Zelina, and I feel like Roman and Jay really. I feel like I think Roman and Jay is going to be significantly better than anything we thought was possible.
I would hope so. I would wish they would not just make it a squash match.
Right. And I feel like Cesaro and the House Party are going to tear it up.
Oh, dude, they will, just because.
Right. I think we're going to get a really good night of wrestling tonight.
I would hope so, and maybe a bunch of maybe much less interference on the finishes than usual.
No. We're going to get a really good night of wrestling up until the finishes, and then it's going to be shenanigans in every match.
That is not unlikely prediction on your part. That is very likely.
Okay, man.
In contrast, I watched the whole G1 like 2 nights in a row, and I don't think I saw one. I saw the manager inside interfere a couple times, which is normal, but I didn't see a run in. I didn't see a missed finish.
No.
I didn't see a DQ. It's amazing.
It was great. I know the G1 is just so good, and it's so in contrast to every other form of wrestling in the world right now.
And I just don't understand how WWE hasn't ripped that concept off yet.
The G1?
Yeah.
You know what, though? Okay, we're going to talk about this just quickly. I said something to Ray watching it, and Ishii was wrestling, and then Jay White was wrestling, and I said to first off, I just blurted out, I think Jay White might be the best there is, period. And second, I was saying, the champion doesn't in New Japan. The champion doesn't give you the rub, right? In WWE and Impact, in AEW, Moxley, the champ's job, you fight your way up to the champion, and then you kind of prove to the community that follows this wrestling program whether or not you are worthy of being in the main event. Then usually you lose and you go back down the card a little bit, but not all the way down, right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you've proven yourself. In New Japan, because you have so many different tournaments where everybody wrestles everybody, and the champ will lose non-title matches sometimes. Mm-hmm. The champ doesn't really give you the rub because he, you know what I mean? You know who gives you the rub in that company? Ishii.
But too, you know what else they do so well is because they are so, it's very Japanese, history means something. So they keep track of how many times, you beat this guy, and, you tell stories off that kind of stuff,
Oh,
These
absolutely.
guys met in the G1 last year, and this was the turning point, blah, blah, blah. They harken back to things. They really keep their, how many times did Kenny Omega face Okada before he got the victory,
right?
And everything, and how these, and Naito, and how did they tell all those stories,
Right. But I feel like guys
historically you get a rub,
right? But guys can kind of prove their mettle in matches with Ishii and Goto and
Suzuki,
right? You know why too? Partially because you have, one of the major parts of those matches is that I'm going to prove how badly I want to be here by standing here and taking shots to the head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the elbows to, and I'm in this match with a guy that's bigger than me, but I'm not going to avoid that the whole match. There will be 4 to 5 minutes of the match that we are doing this, and that can be repetitive. I get some people may not like that. I get it. It took me a while to get used to it. But by the same token, when the guy gets on the other side of that, win or lose, he's proven his mettle.
How tough he is.
Right. The character has proven his mettle. Okay, so you had a good week of wrestling, I guess.
Excellent.
Yeah, great.
Needed that after the hurricane.
You ain't lying. I spent a couple hours while you were watching NXT get caught up before we could do this, dragging stuff to the road. Man, what a week. But that's not y'all's problem out there in the world. For Go Home Heat, copyright 2020, we had a great week of wrestling. Thank you very much for calling in, Justin. Guys, go home.